So the first section of the Go Give or Sell More is creating value. And there are a few subsections in that. I'll cover half of them in this video and then another half in a second video. So the first one is creating value. Bob Burg and John David Mann, they mention excellence, consistency, and attention. So excellence, how do you greet people? How do you greet people? How do you treat them? What's your tone, right? Consistency. Are you professional all the time? Do you treat everyone the same? He gives an example, like if there's a restaurant, two restaurants that's, let's say, cook Mexican food. The other one is closer, but you never know how the food's gonna be. But then you drive 5 miles out, you always know that the food is gonna be the same every time. Be consistent. And attention is like the small details. Do you follow up with customers through email or text? Depending on your industry and the line of work you do, obviously. Or for example, do you email your manager or supervisors consistently about your quarterly reports? You know, things of that nature. Do you call people back right away? Stuff like that. So it's basically how you operate as a operator of whatever line of work you do. I feel like you need to have some sort of integrity. You have to like care about the work you do. And then he also mentions empathy in this section, in the creating value sections. It says here, empathy means putting yourself in the other person's shoes. Obviously, you can just only imagine, right? You can only sympathize what they're going through and then just imagine yourself in their shoes for a moment, if you can. And that way that creates rapport and value and a sort of humility in your interaction with the other person. So I like that he mentions that. It shows appreciation. It shows that you notice the difference. It makes you stand out, basically. But if you're starting to work as a young person, obviously that builds, you know, you have to learn and build that as you go. But this is just a good reminder for us people that have been working for so long that maybe take a different perspective on how we operate in our line of work if we're not doing the things already. You know, there's always room for improvement. There's always room to grow. So that's just how I look at it. And I remember, you know, like working in the salon, everyone is so different that walks in. And so for me, I remember stories that people tell me and I remember faces. I can't really remember your name, but I remember your story. And, you know, I pretty much try to treat people the same. I pretty much ask the same questions, but also the most important thing is you got to read the room, meaning that you got to kind of feel the other person, like whether they're tired or they don't feel like talking, then you got to like go at their pace. I think that's what that's what they meant by empathy, is like you got to just, and that takes time, you know, if you're not used to that, or if you don't work with people directly, maybe your coworkers or your supervisors or whatnot. And yeah, so just be consistent, pay attention to details, show empathy when it's appropriate. And when you combine those, that's like excellence. So that's pretty much what they talk about in this first part of creating value. Hi, so I'm going to cover, it's called Macguffin. Burg and Mann, they say this. A Macguffin, I don't even know if I'm saying it right, Macguffin is dubbed by the late British film director Alfred Hitchcock, is the object around which the whole story focuses. So basically what they're saying here, the product that you're selling is not the whole point of the story. It's the person that's interested in the product, and the way in which we interact with them is the MacGuffin. But then they also say here, the MacGuffin, but the value of the story lies not in the MacGuffin, but in the process they go through it. In the process they go through. So it's the interactions that we have around this product or service with this person that's interested in the product. How we treat them, what questions we ask, how we treat them, what stories they tell us, and what value we give back. And they emphasize on value a lot. And I think value is vague, right? So we have to define it. It's the process of helping people get what they want, creating value in that space, getting to know them, like I said earlier. And they also say it means no matter what you're selling, you have the same opportunity to touch people's lives. So it's creating value, touching people's lives. They may not buy what you're selling, but they'll remember you. And I think the point of this is that maybe they won't buy now, but they'll buy later, or maybe you'll get some sort of referral or something from that person by paying attention, creating value, getting to know them, getting to know their name, you know, their story, their narrative. So, for example, I'm going to go to my salon story. Like, I used to cut hair for the beginning of my adult life, like the first 10, 12 years. And although I was cutting hair and, you know, doing the thing, there are some people who are very particular about who they go to because how they make them feel, right? Some of us will have requests or repeat clients that only want to go to us, even in a franchise salon, even in a corporate salon. You know, there are some good stylists out there and still are. And so even though it's a franchise or, you know, people still want to feel like they're being seen, paid attention to, even though I'm doing the same thing with people like all day long, right? It's more about how I make them feel rather than the actual haircut. Obviously, the service is good, consistency, right? You know, it's how we make each other feel. We're humans. We have to connect with our service providers, like our dentist. I have a chiropractor that I go to and a massage therapist that I go to. The same one for like the past, I don't know, past 9 months. I've been going to the same one because I like it. I like them, right? Yeah. So it is what it is. We just connect with people. And I think we just have to remind ourselves that we have to treat each other as humans. You know, we're not just a number. We're not just a letter. And yeah, so I am enjoying this book so far. And so I'm not sure if I defined Macguffin based on the book properly or tried to explain it, but I think I did. Anyway, I'll go to the next section. So this third chapter is called Giving. And Mann and Berg explain that there is 2 logics of giving, or at least the understanding of logic. So 2 plus 2 is 4. That's the Newtonian. So that's like the logical, mathematical way of adding, and that's very linear. So in this case, it's every action has an equal and opposite reaction, yes. So, but in managing relationships, it doesn't work that way. It's a different type of logic. So the logic that they give is pretty much not keeping score because humans, it doesn't work well with us with the mathematical logic of giving. And it has an icky feeling emotionally. And they also mention, I'm just going to read another quote here. Managing a relationship with a scorecard doesn't work because nobody can ever measure up to the subjectivity of another billiard ball calculations. And then they go on to say, millions of marriages have broken up over scorecards that didn't seem to either party to tally fairly. That pretty sums it up. And also, allowing yourself to receive is also important because there are those that want to help or give, and there are people that don't want the help. They don't want that. But you have to sort of appreciate the giving. Let me see if I'm saying this right. Okay. So in the economics of human interaction, I quote, this is a quote, in the economics of human interaction, spending doesn't deplete, it multiplies. And they go on and they say the same with appreciation, knowledge, acknowledgement, wisdom, attention, and care. When you keep it to yourself, it doesn't build interest, it withers. In fact, the only way you can get more of it is to continuously give it away. So, as someone who likes to help or offer help or resource or knowledge, sometimes I have to work on this. I'm going on a tangent right now just for a little bit. So, I like to give, or like if I think of someone and they have like maybe like a health issue or something, and I don't talk to them all the time, you know, and it's being discerned about unsolicited information or resources. So that's my kind of a thing I have to work on. But giving is important. And I also think that receiving is important because we all need help, and a lot of people are prideful. I'm just going to say it. They don't want help for whatever reason, right? From you specifically, from me specifically. It is what it is, but why do you not want free help? Obviously, it has to come from a good place. I understand that. I'm a mom, and I get that. Like, you know, when you have kids, people try to give you so much information. But in the realm of in the realm of business, I think giving is important. And I think in the realm of working and being employed in your workplace, I think giving is important. Although there's a lot more nuance in life, in regular life outside of work. But yeah, I mean, at least offering help is nice. The fact that someone asks me if I need help is nice, because we can't do everything ourselves. We can't live this life by ourselves. We always need help, whether or not we're trying to promote, whether or not we're entrepreneurs, whether or not we're single parent homes or parents or whoever we are. We just need help too. And the giving portion is, I think, is important. As humans, I totally agree. The information that we keep to ourselves doesn't really do much, but maybe it served our purpose, but then we've escalated outside of that resource or knowledge, and then we just have that knowledge to ourselves. But yeah, giving, it's important. So be discerned about it, be cognizant about it, and yeah, always ask if it's okay to give help, and yes or no would be the answer, and then you would just go from there. But that is giving. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.